I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and this may be the HTC device that you've been waiting for. I'm here with the HTC One X. This is the flagship device in HTC's One lineup, which they announced at Mobile World Congress back in February. This thing is packing a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor, and I should point out that this is the global version. It's got an 8 megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording, a front-facing camera, Android 4.0, also known as Ice Cream Sandwich, with HTC Sense version 4, a 1,800 milliamp hour battery, all in a thin and light package that looks good and fits well in the hand. I've had the pleasure of reviewing this for about a week thanks to HTC, so special thanks to them. And all in all, I'm pretty impressed. But there's a lot of stuff that's coming out on the market right now. Is it worth waiting for? We'll find out in the full review. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out without dealing with any rebates, no paperwork, no waiting 8 to 10 weeks for your phone. At Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out with the after rebate price. Let's take a look at it. HTC One X. Is this phone really the one for you? Let's go find out. This is the one you've been waiting for. At least that's what HTC says. This is the HTC One X, and it's the flagship device in a series of 3 devices that HTC announced at Mobile World Congress. Now, if you're watching this video on Monday, the embargo is lifted. We can talk about the One X now. I've actually had this device for about a week and a half by the time the video is published on the site, and I'm really impressed. You know, it represents a change for HTC. You know, they've originally, past couple of years, they've released a ton of devices, a lot of different specs, or actually similar specs, but different build quality designs and different carriers. You know, they released hundreds of phones, and HTC kind of became that manufacturer that was like just the one that released a ton of phones, and it seemed like they didn't really care. That was the impression that a lot of consumers got. They're trying to change that with HTC One X. According to this is their flagship series. This is their, at least for the first half of 2012, their big project, their primary focus, and there are 3 in the series. The One X, which is this one, the One S, and then the One V, which looks a lot like the Legend and some of the successors to the HTC Legend. So this is the One X, and just to give you a rundown of specs, it's got a 1.5 gigahertz, and actually before I start, I should point out this is the global version. This is not the AT&T version, so it's packing a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor. It's got a 4.7-inch HD display with a 720 by 1280 pixels, so beautiful 4.7-inch display. Think HTC Titan here in terms of, to give you kind of a size comparison as to 4.7 as opposed to like 4 or 4.3. An 8 megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording, and this is an area where HTC really made it a point to mention in the press conference. The camera is supposed to be fantastic on this, and we'll take a look at that in the full review. Beautiful build quality though, 8.99 millimeters thin. You can see here my hand behind a very thin device, very svelte, feels good in the hand, has a front-facing camera, beautiful build quality though, a non-removable 1,800 milliamp hour battery in this one because it is the global version, supports HSPA plus up to 21 megabits per second. Now, 1 gigabyte of RAM in this bad boy, 32 gigabytes of internal storage in the global version, although about 24 to 26 megabytes, or gigabytes rather, are available for the user. Then it has an 8 megapixel camera, like I said, and of course the battery. 4.5 ounces, give or take a little bit on the design. But beautiful design, really a change for HTC. You've got the front-facing camera here, power button up top, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, your camera on the back obviously. You've got a little dock area here where you could sit it down in a dock at some point in the future, but again, non-removable battery, but it's got kind of a nice curved design to it with Beats audio, and then you got your micro USB charging port over here on the side. So it really fits well in the hand. It's also the first device that's going to launch, actually, well, it launched alongside the One S globally, but one of the first devices to pack Android 4.0, known as Ice Cream Sandwich, with HTC Sense version 4. It's not 4.0, they're calling it version 4, and you're going to see some similarities in terms of the transition effects here. For example, you've got the carousel transition effects. You're going to see some changes to the dock, and then you'll see some changes to the buttons down here at the bottom. You've got back, home, and then recent applications, which you can go through and easily get rid of those like you can on Ice Cream Sandwich. Also, a lot of changes. So let's start with Sense 4, because this is the first Sense 4 device we've reviewed on PhoneDog.com. You can see different color scheme, kind of an Ice Cream Sandwich color scheme, an easy access button up here in the notifications bar to settings, and you can see that they're grouped now by wireless and networks. Personal, you got your phone stuff down here, and then you have this nice little little effect when you get down to the bottom to let you know you're at the bottom. So cool little effects like that are really what make a Sense 4 work really well with Ice Cream Sandwich. I've been working with this for about a week now, almost a week and a half, and I'll say, I've been kind of I've complained quite a bit about Sense in the past because I think it's gotten too bloaty, it's gotten too overwhelming. This one works really well with Ice Cream Sandwich. I feel like it's not incredibly bloaty. It seems to kind of Ice cream sandwich's weaknesses, it seems to kind of strengthen them there, and then the weaknesses of Sense ice cream sandwich seems to work well there. So kind of they work together with their strengths and weaknesses, and I feel like they've done a really good job integrating this in to ice cream sandwich. So 7 home screens, no real difference here, but you can see that quad-core Tegra 3 processor really doing a great job here, and I can easily access the different home screens and scroll back and forth. You'll also notice the notification, or the dock rather, down here at the bottom is different. And it's easy to add and remove stuff. All you have to do is lift up and remove, and you can put whatever applications you'd like down there in the actual dock. You'll see some changes here as well. Now, instead of scrolling from up to down in typical HTC fashion, you scroll from side to side, and you've got some different icons up here. Search, Play Store, and then Menu. Play Shop in the UK, Play Store in the US. You got your menu up here as well, where you can manage apps and edit some of your tabs. And then down here you have frequent and downloads, and I love the little transition effect that it does as you scroll between those. So just some improvements and changes as a result of Sense 4 and Ice Cream Sandwich. Now, this is obviously the global version. This is not what you're going to get out of the box in the AT&T version. And when we get an AT&T review unit, I'll be sure to go over that in more detail. But just out of the box in the global, you get 7 digital Dropbox. You get, of course, HTC Hub, which they're getting ready to close and kind of redo. But Google+, Google Messenger, you got Mirror, Movie Editor, you got PDF Viewer, Notes, Personalize, which is something I love on previous HTC devices, Polaris Office, SoundHound, TuneIn Radio, and then, of course, Wi-Fi hotspot and some other capabilities like that. So, again, some things look similar, some things look different, but it seems like it works much better with Android 4.0 as opposed to some of the older versions of Sense. You'll also notice that some of the widgets have changed, and this is something I wanted to point out as well. Let's go into an empty home screen here. Press and hold, and you'll see that it makes a different look when you go into your widgets. This is no longer the typical Android look and feel. You can access all of your widgets. We can go to bookmarks, for example, and see that. And then I can go back up here to all widgets if I want to, a clock, and then it still distinguishes between HTC widgets and Android widgets. And down here you can see that it's 1 of 5, and I can scroll back and forth. Now up here I can scroll between my 7 home screens. So it's got kind of a TouchWiz 4 look and feel to it here, because you can still scroll through your 7 home screens. And then let's say I want to add the ring clock, I can bring it up here. You'll notice that the ones that I can't add it to light up red because there's not enough space. And then so that's added. I can go over here and do like a travel clock on this one, for example, with what's left on the space, and I can go to current location, let's say home, and you can see all of the different spaces that I have available. That's nice, and of course you can add apps and shortcuts over here just by scrolling down at the bottom. So it's really all about aesthetics on HTC 4, HTC Sense 4, and Ice Cream Sandwich, and they really do a good job of bringing that into play here on HTC Sense 4. It looks much better. Now let's take a look at text messaging too, because there are some changes here, and I'm going to back that out because I actually had a message to my personal number. That's probably not something I want on camera, but you can see all messages, and again, you got your settings up here, and the menu button is up top because obviously they've gotten rid of the capacitive menu button. So I can come in here to compose, I can go down here to add text. You're going to notice the HTC Sense keyboard has changed. It's a darker gray with a white color scheme in terms of the lettering, and portrait to landscape transitions are nice and fast. Now, 4.7-inch display means you're going to have no trouble whatsoever typing. If you have large thumbs, you throw this thing into landscape mode, you should be perfectly pleased with the typing experience. Still, I think they made some great improvements on this keyboard as opposed to even the old HTC Sense keyboard, which I liked, but still thought it had some issues. I find that it works pretty well. The Quick Brown Fox is ready for the weekend. Quick Brown Fox is ready for the weekend, and I can easily go down here and get rid of the keyboard, and of course I can do my voice stuff. And let's go to let's English, make that English. Don't need any of these at the moment, and I can easily access that. And let's see if we can go into it now. And let's see if it loads up. Then you got your send button and your attach buttons down here at the bottom as well. How are you doing today? Thanks for that. And much like Ice Cream Sandwich, you can easily switch around. And apparently Amazon. Thanks for that, Amazon. I picked up my last few words. But you can do that like you can in stock Ice Cream Sandwich. So that's a nice little touch as well. Let's take a look at the browser, and you'll see, and we'll get into the camera in part 2 because they've really done a decent job with the camera. There are a lot of cool features in the camera that I've been really impressed with. So let's go over here to phonedog.com, and we'll load up PhoneDog, and we'll go to Google. Actually, we'll do it this way. And then we'll come in. So again, 4.7-inch display means you're going to have a great time with this device when it comes to viewing YouTube videos or viewing web pages like this. And doing things in landscape mode as well. So whether it's videos, it's web browsing, it's listening to music, I think the screen size may be a little bit big for some, but for others that are really media hounds, they're going to have a good time with this device. So again, pinch to zoom, relatively responsive, that quad-core Tegra 3 processor working really well, even before the page is fully loaded. And then you've got your menu up here. I can view the desktop side, I can enable the flash player, I can go to downloads and history and print, settings and more. And then I can go over here, scroll back up, and then I can of course go to tabs, wait for it to load, let's see here. Sorry about that. I'll go back to phonedog.com, and then we'll get this to load. I'll focus on or zoom out so you can see the full site and how easy it is to pinch to zoom. And then we'll go up here and then we'll go to tabs, and I can easily pick up right where I left off when I'm ready to go back, but I can always open up a secondary tab as well. And then when I'm ready to go back, share location, why not? And then I can go back. Let's get this to go back here. There we go, tabs. And I can scroll right back to PhoneDog and pick up where I left off. Pretty quick, pretty easy to do. And again, Ice Cream Sandwich, they made some great improvements here, both in terms of transition effects, as you see as a part of Ice Cream Sandwich and as a part of Sense 4. And then again, that quad-core Tegra 3 processor works really well in the speed department.